So some of the elements that make up governance certainly start with corporate governance. But here we see a few of the areas, for example, financial governance. How do we handle our money? What is our goal for return on investment? How do we make sure that the money our taxpayers or our customers have trusted us with, we actually use properly? So financial governance is very important. Financial prudence is a very good term to use here quite often, to make sure we're not wasteful with the resources of the organization. But then we see IT governance as the management of the IT function in support of corporate goals, and security governance. Now, these all mutually support one another. It should be such that the financial, the business processes, the IT, the security, all see that they are part of a team working together for the good of the organization and working to ensure that the organization can meet its vision and mission. An important part of this, then, is ensuring that the IT security, the overall security, and the IT governance itself gain the support of the business process owners. Gaining support starts in many cases with ensuring that there is communication between each of these groups. When we talk about security governance, we have to remember that security is more than just protecting information technology. It's protecting the people, the business processes, the operations, the supply chain, the facilities. It's ensuring that everything that could pose an unacceptable risk to the organization has been identified so it can be properly addressed. We need to ensure we have the support of management for the security governance function. Does security reflect the culture of the organization? Does security reflect the tone that senior management wants to see, so that we're able to see that security is something that management trusts to be able to do its job effectively? This means that security should have a similar vision to what the organization has, so the security governance function is carefully and closely aligned with overall corporate governance. Not where the corporation is headed in one direction, but security is headed in a completely different direction. No, security is something that should be woven into the business processes. This is where security has to understand the priorities of business. It's business that's important here. And if business wants to continue, then security should not be seen as a hindrance that gets in the way of the business success, but rather something that supports and assists in business success. But here we come into the inevitable problem. There's a lot of talk and not always a lot of action. So the difference between theory and practice. Governance can be lots of theory, but with no practical result. Lots of discussion, but nothing ever happens. But that's not what we're aiming for here. That's not the case. Instead, governance should be implemented through the practical activities that will be then a way to express the intent of governance. And this includes things like proper budget. I cannot expect an organization to be successful if the departments don't have the budget they need to invest in their people, technologies, equipment, new growth and research, and so on. We also should implement a framework so that governance has a defined structure through things such as policies and procedures and standards. We should have the resources necessary, the people, the skills, the equipment, that are able to facilitate success, as well as management support. So management will support the initiatives and the direction, for example, the policies of the organization, that management themselves will follow those policies. But it's important, as we've talked about reporting, that we monitor and we know, how are things working? Are we developing in a healthy way, for example? And part of that is a focus on continuous improvement. We should never rest, but instead grow so we're able to develop and increase in the maturity of our security and governance functions. The thing is that governance starts with having a strategic vision, your objectives, your view, and your mission. We then implement those, but we then have to put in place the monitoring and performance measurements to see, are we actually reaching the desired result? This feeds back to the strategic objectives. Do we need to change, modify, adapt? All of these are important parts of a governance process. So the key points to review. Governance is an important foundation for a successful organization. It sets out the structure, the behaviors, and actions that will be followed by the different parts of the organization, and security governance is a subset, something that should be a part of corporate governance.